Welcome to the Blue Cafe. We offer stories of infidelity, betrayal, and redemption. Please like and subscribe. Cheers. Now, on to today's story. My wife may have cheated with my coworker. Hello everybody. I can't believe I'm here, but I don't know what else to do. I love my wife, but I'm really scared that she's doing something behind my back. I can't talk to friends and family because it's too embarrassing and messed up. I think my coworker may have banged my wife and it's looking like it may be true. I am 36, met my wife, F32, at a mall in our city back in 2014. My wife, let's call her Gabby, was in the food court in the line when I saw her. It's funny thing is, I was actually trying to go to another restaurant but the line was too long. Getting in line at the restaurant where she was, I saw her standing at the front. And when she looked at me, I couldn't believe how gorgeous she was. When she saw me, she laughed and said she wasn't in line for food. Gabby said her cousin worked there, and she was waiting for her to come out. I was happy as hell that she spoke to me because I couldn't figure out what to say to her. Thanks to that, I was able to break the ice by being humorous and we talked while she waited for her cousin. I could see I was definitely making a good first impression with her. I asked her while she waited for her cousin if she wanted me to buy her some food, and she said she wanted a strawberry lemonade instead. After buying it, we talked some more and I continued to be flirtatious and funny with her. When her cousin came out, I asked for her number and she gave it to me before they left. After that, I did everything I could to sweep her off her feet. After going on some dates, events, and me and my friends hanging with her and her friends, we made it official we were dating. In 2017, Gabby got married. After having 3 kids, we had our own family. After having 2 girls and our son being the middle child, we grew into being great parents for our kids. It wasn't easy, but we gave up always going out to clubs and concerts, but we still found time here and there to have fun. Our nightlife was definitely cut in half for sure. I was happy to have Gabby as my wife and I felt very lucky. She had a great character, but she was so gorgeous that my friends even gave me props. Gabby is Cuban and looks like a cross between the girl who had played Wonder Woman and Salma Hayek. She is curvaceous, has tattoos on her arms and always has a ponytail. You'd know her for sure by her always wearing a type of ponytail, especially in her selfies. We make good money since I work as a maintenance man. Gabby and her sister are interior decorators and make good money too. Technically, her sister is the interior designer. Gabby just jumped on board when she saw it was getting successful. I love my job and I've worked here for 7 years. But I never thought someone here would get to my wife. The trouble came last Wednesday. There's a guy that works in the shipping area, let's call him Daryl. I'm not really friends with Daryl, but he is an acquaintance to me and we talk during lunch. The most time I hung with him was probably when we were shooting dice in the parking lot at the job. We only hang out at lunch and talk about the basketball games. One weekend, my car had brake problems and I couldn't drive it to work, so my wife drove me there and picked me up after. The first time she accidentally came too early and had to wait about 30 minutes for me to come out. When I came out, I saw her laughing and talking to Daryl and a girl that works in the office. Let's call her Brianna. After introducing her as my wife, we had small talk for a little while and we left. Looking back, I think that is where it all began. I think Daryl may have gotten to my wife, and it started that week when she had to come and pick me from work. When I got off work, I would see my wife hanging with Daryl and Brianna. They would be in the office hanging out listening to rap music on Daryl's Beats by Dre that's connected to his phone. Gabby said she liked talking to Brianna and would hang out in the office with her and Daryl. I knew Brianna and Daryl lived close to each other, so they were good friends, and that's why it didn't really bother me to see him around them as well. Since that week, Gabby would come to my job to talk and hang with Daryl and Brianna. Since Brianna was supposed to be Gabby's friend, I didn't mind her visiting sometimes or talking on the phone. But Daryl being around talking to Gabby was something I overlooked. My wife gets a lot of attention, especially on Instagram, so I always tried to keep myself in check even when I saw Gabby and Daryl talking without Brianna around. Jumping into conclusions would just piss Gabby off and we'd be arguing in Spanish every day. Last Wednesday was when my fears came up about my wife possibly cheating on me. One day when leaving my job, I was saying goodbye to a friend at work. He was on the phone at the time and he said goodbye as well. I stopped when he told the person on the other line that it was me telling him goodbye, and I was curious because he said my name like this person knew me. I asked him who he was talking to and he just smiled and said it was an old co-worker of ours. Telling me to wait, he said this person wanted to talk to me really quick. Giving me the phone. I was actually happy to hear from this guy. Talking to my old co-worker, let's call him Tyrell. We caught up since I didn't know why he left. He said his brother worked in a warehouse in Atlanta and Tyrell said he moved down there since his brother promised him a job with him. Then he had decided to rub it in by saying he now make more than us in a playful way. After catching up, he said he wanted to ask me for my phone number because he wanted to talk to me about something. I said sure and he told me to DM him my number on Facebook. I said okay and gave my friend his phone back. After sending him the number, he called immediately. I didn't even make it to my car yet. Picking up, I asked him what was up. He asked me if I was in my car and I said yeah. He said not to drive yet because he really had to tell me something. This really sounded strange as hell, so I asked him what he was talking about. He said I can't tell anybody he told me this, and I agreed. He asked me if Gabby was still coming up to my job and it surprised me. I said yeah, and he asked me if Daryl was still talking to Gabby and I said yeah, and he was making me nervous asking about them. He told me he didn't want to start anything, but he thought Daryl banged my wife. He said since he doesn't work with us anymore, he didn't care, so he wanted me to know this. Hearing this sent a big ass chill down my spine. I asked him how he knew this and he said he had seen them. When he worked with us, Tyrell was a floor leader, so he moved between the departments. He said while walking he always saw Gabby and Daryl talking to each other. And he told our co-workers he really wanted to bang Gabby. And he said he would always make comments about her butt. I asked Tyrell when he would see them together and he said it was almost an hour before lunch. He said he would see her talk to Brianna sometimes, but he saw her talking to Daryl more. Tyrell said even though it looked like he was flirting with Gabby, didn't know if something might be happening until she visited him on Saturdays when Daryl's department had to work overtime. This was a surprise to me because I almost never worked overtime. It didn't make sense why she would be there. I asked Tyrell if he was sure she was there on Saturdays and he said he was definitely sure. He said he was pretty sure Daryl might be banging her when she had visited one Saturday. Since there's not a lot to do on Saturday, they had a lot of free time and Daryl would have his Beats by Dre music speaker playing. Even though Gabby was there hanging out, this was normal to Tyrell. But after a while he came back and said he heard loud Spanish music playing. Looking in, Tyrell said things was getting sexual with Gabby and the guys. He said Daryl had Gabby by her neck while she twerked for him. My wife wasn't exactly bootylicious, but she had enough that she could twerk if she wanted. I froze when Tyrell told me this. I asked was he sure, and he said he was absolutely sure and that he's not blind. He said everybody watched as she bounced it for him and he even lifted her shirt to show her butt in her leggings. I asked him did she try to stop Daryl and he said no. He said all she did was laugh and twerk for him while he had her by her neck. He said she looked like she was trying to win a contest. I couldn't believe what I was hearing from Tyrell. He said he was sorry and I need to keep my wife from him. He said that includes Brianna as well. I said thanks for telling me all this and hung up not long after. I felt very humiliated by this. Driving back home, my head was racing like crazy. What was worse, Gabby working for Daryl had to have been 7 or 8 months ago. Who knows what's been going on ever since then. They probably took it to his place and she did more than twerk there. I had to ask Gabby what was going on, and see if she'd be honest with me. Getting back home, my wife was on the phone with her mom. After small talk, I asked her did she had met Brianna today and she said yeah. I asked her if she saw Daryl as well and she said no. I told her I was actually surprised because they seemed like the Three Musketeers. She told me Daryl really don't be around that much, and it just be her and Brianna, which even I know is total bull. After that my wife just walked past me and into the kitchen for her phone and started texting probably her friends. I couldn't believe my wife flat out lied to me about her relationship with Daryl. Even I noticed how much he was around her, and I was hurt by what was looking obvious right now. After that, all I could do was watch her make dinner for our kids and feel sad about what's going on right now. I'm really depressed and my head got me in a combination of rage and tearing up. Right now I need proof that something's going on. But it's going to be really hard since it involves people that work with me. I don't want to lose my job, and I can't use what Tyrell said because it was just working and that's not good enough for divorce. Besides, they'll both just lie and say it didn't happen. Plus my wife can say she was bringing Daryl lunch or something and the old lady that's the security guard would let her in. I have to assume my wife cheated on me. My wife had secretly met up with Daryl and worked for him, and that was 8 months ago. So much time had passed and there's no telling what happened since then. I need to know how to get actual proof so I can use it in divorce if everything is true. I need to be careful because I don't want to lose my job and I know her family will attack me if I don't get evidence. We'll update if I figure out what to do. Do not ask any more questions about Daryl so as not to raise suspicions. Go through her phone while she is sleeping and take photos of anything you find. Also check her GPS history over the last 8 to 9 months and take note of all the Saturdays she went to your work as well as any other frequent address that has popped up in the last 9 months or so. Also, if you know anyone in Daryl's department that would have seen that working incident, talk to them and play it off like you already know. Like so my wife told me she came here one Saturday and you guys had a little dance party. Did you guys have fun? She said she was twerking with Daryl, but I don't believe her as she plays too much. And see what they say. Yeah, when it's time. I would start out the convo with, "We have a problem, you turned me into a joke at work. The word is, that you are dancing at the office with Daryl blasting Latin music and twerking for everyone to see. You are sleeping around, at my office. I have to work with this clown and see you hang around there. And keep the rumors up. Nice. Real nice." Check her phone when she goes to sleep. She must have even saved his name as a girl's name. So check even the girl's message. Check the messages to the other woman too. Sorry man. Even after all that, this feels like a Beats by Dre advertisement. Lamau product placement. Exactly, Beats by Dre. Daryl is black. Have to ask since Beat by Dre. Lamau literally thought the same thing, smiley face. No need to find evidence. Give her divorce papers and tell her you will withdraw if she comes clean about everything. All the lies need to be revealed. Just tell her that you know she has been seeing Daryl from a third party that saw them together. Do not reveal that you do not know everything, just tell her you know, and her being honest with all the details is the only way for you to believe she can win your trust back. Where there is smoke, there are beats by Dr. Dre. My wife may have cheated with my coworker. Update 1. I want to thank everybody for letting me know how to find out about what's going on with my wife and my coworker who I think she's cheating on me with. It helped me especially since I couldn't go to family and friends because of the possible embarrassment. And it's getting worse, all the things I've been noticing. And it's definitely possible my coworker banged my wife. To bring people up to speed on this, my wife Gabby had to pick me up from work because my car needed new brakes. Waiting for me to get off work, Gabby met and became friends with a girl that works in the front office named Brianna and a coworker who worked in shipping named Daryl. When I got off the floor I had always seen them listening to rap music and talking. After being good friends with them, my wife would come to my job on her off day and hang with them around their lunch. However, a couple weeks ago, I got a call from an old co-worker that devastated me. This guy that used to work with us named Tyrell said Daryl might have gotten to my wife. He said he saw them talking privately and it looked like they were flirting. He said this would happen an hour before Daryl's lunch and it was very suspicious. What was worse was when he said that when he and Daryl would work overtime on Saturdays, Gabby would come to visit him. He said at first he wasn't going to say anything, but one Saturday he saw something that made him tell me after Tyrell left. He said when he went to the shipping dock he heard Spanish music playing. He said looking in he saw my wife's dancing and twerking for Daryl. He said at first they were just playing around but then they got sexual and aggressive. He said Gabby allowed him to grab him by her neck and lift her shirt up to see her butt. He said at first they were playing around but he could tell that it was getting serious, especially how they looked at each other. At first I was making excuses for my wife asking him if he was sure it was her. He shot that down by saying he was definitely sure it was her, especially since Gabby was Cuban, had tattoos on her arms and she always wore a ponytail. Tyrell said after he saw that he left to go home, "I just couldn't believe what he was telling me. Not only is it bad that my wife was twerking on Daryl, but this happened 8 or 9 months ago. So much time had passed by, and who knows what she was doing now for Daryl. I'm grateful Tyrell told me about this, but I think he might be too late telling this information. I wish he would have been a man and told me at the time, but it looks like thanks to him Daryl definitely got to my wife. All because he didn't want to snitch on Daryl." When I got home, I asked Gabby about her friendship with Daryl. She said she talks to Daryl sometimes, but he doesn't really be around and she usually just talks to Brianna. I knew this was BS because sometimes I saw them myself. Thanks to Tyrell, I see how this game of hers is being played. She was using her friendship with Brianna as an excuse to really see Daryl. After talking to Tyrell and hearing Gabby lie about her and Daryl, I began snooping on my wife around the house. I can't get in her iPhone because she has a hard passcode, and she is always on it gossiping with her mom and her sister every day. Instead I would eavesdrop on her conversations and the ones she had late at night bothered me. She would go on the back porch and talk, and I would go out our side door to listen to who she was talking to. After listening I could tell she was probably talking to Daryl. I would hear her say "Stop, you are crazy," or "Yes, we had fun at a certain club in the suburban area of where we live." I even heard her say she can't go over there. I'm sure they're meant over his house, but just hearing one side I couldn't be all the way sure. When she came in I asked her who she was talking to and she say her sister, Brianna, or somebody else. All the giggling and whispering told me it was total BS. It was then that I really must have been blind before Tyrell called because I saw nothing but red flags afterwards. I never see her without her phone now, she doesn't talk to me and says she's busy, and when I wanted to sleep with her she found it hilarious and said she didn't want to do it with our kids in the house. When I asked when has that ever stopped us, Gabby would say just leave her alone, and I was crazy. She said she wasn't in the mood. All this stuff before Tyrell called and after is not looking like my wife has been faithful. Why did I ever think all this was normal? Last Saturday I think I caused her to miss a chance to be with Daryl and she was pissed. After I got off work Gabby called me while I was driving home. She said she planned to go out again and that I had to cook for the kids. I immediately assumed she was trying to meet with Daryl and lied, saying I was going to run errands before coming home. She said she was already getting ready to leave and I told her sister to watch the kids, already knowing she couldn't. After trying to guilt me into forcing her to stay home, I told Gabby I'm allowed to go out and do things and I may not be back till later. Gabby said whatever and she hung up on me. Later that night, she had an attitude with me, and when I said just 2 words to her she just blew up on me. She said I ruined her night and I said I didn't care. I told her me needing to run errands was more important than her just hanging out. Gabby said I didn't say anything about running errands and I told her she didn't say anything about going out. When I asked her who she was hanging out with she said to just forget it. After getting out of the shower I noticed she was outside on the porch talking on her phone. Seeing as she looked irritated I'm sure she was talking about me. However, a couple days ago took a turn for the worst. After I got off work, that night Gabby cooked dinner. She came into the bedroom where I was looking at some new Jordans on my phone and told me dinner was ready. When I came into the dining room, she was all dressed up getting ready to leave. I asked her where she was going and she said she was going out with some friends and that I had to watch the kids. I asked who she was going out with and Gabby just said her friends again. I told her she can't just up and leave and she told me to stop trying to control her. After that she walked out the door with an attitude. I was super pissed because I knew what this was about. She was still mad about the Saturday where she couldn't see Daryl, and she was obviously sad about it since then. My wife didn't come back till about 2:30 in the morning. That whole night I was texting her and her only reply was please stop texting me. And I was pissed. When she finally came in I was playing our son's PlayStation and when I saw her, we started arguing. I asked her why she came home so late. She just said she was hanging out with her friends and I wasn't trying to hear any of that. I told her I was supposed to be in bed and here I was up waiting for her to come back home. She said I never complained when she got in late in the past and I said I was always with her so that BS arguments don't work. She cursed me out and said I was practically trying to control her and I said I was a bull. After a while, my son came out to see what all the yelling was about and asked what was wrong. After that Gabby said she was arguing with me anymore and stormed into the bedroom. Seeing the video game on, my son asked if he could play it and I told him just for a little while then he had to go back to sleep. After agreeing, he started playing the game and I wanted to continue to argue with Gabby. I wasn't going to let her gaslight me about being some kind of controlling husband. She was one coming in late. I always try to be calm, but my suspicions got the better of me. Coming in at 2 a.m. was disrespectful, especially after how she left. After our argument went into our bedroom to continue arguing about when she left. When I walked into the bedroom I was going to argue but then I had stopped mid-sentence at what I saw. When I walked in the room my wife was getting undressed and it looked like she was wearing a black string as underwear. I guess my wife thought I would still be with our son because she looked surprised when I walked in. My wife just stood there as she was wearing a piece of string and I saw her for the thought she now was. After looking at me for a brief second, she shot me a look that said if you ask me we're just gonna argue. After she grabbed her pajamas off the bed, she decided to go into the bathroom to change. I couldn't believe what I just saw and I can't lie, it stopped me in my tracks and I was crushed. I decided I was going to sleep on the couch because it was going to be awkward after that. My brain couldn't function after seeing that. I never saw my wife wear peace thongs or underwear like that. It was practically bare bottom in a black piece of string. To be fair, Gabby does have sexy underwear but it's been forever since she wore them. When we go on vacation she likes to wear sexy bikinis, but it would be for Instagram. Even with that being the case, the string she was wearing was more like something on World Star. At this point I've seen my wife is definitely being super suspicious and secretive. When I came on here, I saw everybody saw I should record her doing or saying very incriminating shit, so I'm already acting on it. I ordered a VAR device and I plan on putting it in her car. I asked a friend of mine if I could use his address for the delivery and he said yes without any questions. I'll pick it up when he gets it in the mail. The last thing I need is for her to see the package and question me about what it is. I'm ready to blow this thing wide open and I don't care what it costs. Thanks to Tyrell, a lot of my suspicions are on the money. I'll try and update, but I should be able to if I stop being confrontational and act as normal as my emotions will let me be. Dude, at this point, why do you need proof? She is openly disrespecting you. Quit doing the pick-me dance and just leave her. You would have a much closer reaction to what you are looking for if you would just take your son and leave without a word. This woman is going to leave you with zero self-respect. What is the pick-me dance? It's when a person is cheated on, and instead of being upset and leaving like they should, they stick around and beg the cheater to try again. And in the meantime lose all self-respect. Does it really exist? A cheater that begged their cheater, how is it even possible? Head out to r/as1 after infidelity. That sub is full of pick-me answers, though some actually go about reconciliation in the right way. Op definitely is doing it all wrong. Here it happens more often than you think. I do not want to throw a relationship away, but that can only happen if the cheating spouse is truly remorseful. If they aren't, you have to leave. And no amount of talking or pleading will convince them. How is it even possible? The person being cheated on believes, by gaslighting/blame shifting/Darvo manipulation from the cheater, that they somehow caused their spouse to cheat. It is definitely a blow to the ego that their spouse chooses some other person to cheat with. Why wasn't I good enough is a common phrase/thought. So to correct their mistakes they put out an all-out blitz of nice behavior in an effort to win back their cheating spouse and drop the AP. It never works. In your previous post you said you confronted her and she walked past you into the kitchen to text her friends. She probably wasn't texting her friends. She was probably deleting messages in case you figured out how to get into her phone by doing something like looking over her shoulder while she unlocks it. The red flags are all there. Back before the internet, the most common red flags were losing weight, buying new underwear, dressing sexier, a lack of intimacy, and a lack of respect. You're looking at least 3 of them. She's hiding her phone. That's 4. An old coworker with absolutely nothing to gain because he's in another state told you he saw them being sexual together. That's 5 to the 10th power. The most common gaslight at the pre-discovery phase is, stop trying to control me. As others have said, if you pay the phone bill you can get her call and SMS messaging logs. Some carriers have them online. If her phone has thumbprint unlocking, put it against her thumb while she's sleeping. It's pretty clear she's cheating, but honestly, I wouldn't need her to cheat. There's no way I'm still married to a mother who stays out with friends until 2 a.m. She should have outgrown the party life a long time ago, and phone privacy is for single people. Seriously. She needed to wear a G-string to hang out with friends? Don't make it obvious you suspect her of cheating, okay? Play cool and collect the evidence you need to serve her the papers of divorce. If you need to hire a pie to follow her on her so-called girls' night, do it. I'm sure you two share phone accounts, so get access to the call log/text messages and see what number she's been talking to a lot. Be smart for your son, and once you get a lawyer you use all that evidence to come out better in the divorce. The fact she's wearing sexy underwear on a girl's night out is a red flag, and always hiding on her phone. Don't worry bro, you'll move on from her and find someone better. So many gorgeous better women in the world, just worry about yourself and son now. Don't stupidly comfort her after getting your evidence. I'm sure you are going to get your evidence. Also order a tracking device. After getting your evidence, contact a lawyer, ready your divorce papers, and sort out your financial situation according to your lawyer. And see where she's going in girls' night out according to your tracking device and surf her in there. Can you get the texting and phone records from the service provider? Get a buyer or a good friend that you really trust and let them follow her when she goes out the next time. Tell your wife that you want to avoid such misunderstandings in the future and that you would be grateful if she could give you a little lead time when she plans to go out. It will seem like you are trying to avoid the same situation from coming up again, while you only will get a little bit of time before she goes out again, so that you can prepare. Whoever follows her should bring a good camera along, so that they can take a few pics of where she drives and with who she meets. The VAR in the car probably won't help you too much unless she meets with him in her car. Better would be a GPS tracker or a phone in her car that you can track. That way you can check where her car lives. I would advise you to go to a doc first to get tested for STDs. In addition, when you see that she is at his place, then grab a friend and drive there. Surprise her and tell her that she can stay there and doesn't need to come home, since you are not interested in living with a cheating wife. We hope you have enjoyed today's episode. Please comment, like and subscribe. Cheers. Have a wonderful day or night, wherever you are.